Hello and welcome to Aging Fearlessly. I am your host, Guillermo Vidal, and I'm so happy you could join me today. Now I want to talk about a lesson that I learned from my father when I was 14 years old. Back then we were living in Denver, Colorado, soon after we had been reunited when my parents had finally been able to leave Cuba. We were very, very poor then, and to save money, we got all our housewares and clothing at the Goodwill industry stores on Larimer Square in downtown Denver. On one of those occasions, my father, who smoked 3 packs of Chesterfields a day, had stepped outside the Goodwill store to have a cigarette, and I went outside with him. Now, for those of you who've been to Denver recently, Larimer Square is a wonderful, posh, lively, and fun street in downtown Denver. But that was not the case back in 1965 when this story took place. In those days, Larimer Square was a place where Denver's homeless took whatever refuge they took from Denver's tough winters. On this particular day, it must have been 20 degrees Fahrenheit when my father stepped out of the Goodwill store to have a cigarette. Now, immediately across the street from us, there were 2 homeless people lying on the sidewalk. One was on top of the other. Now, moved that by the sight, my father believed that one homeless man was lying on top to keep the other one warm. Now, when I stepped outside, my father expressed, "Look at those 2 people across from us. They're a reminder of, no matter how low in life we find ourselves, the human spirit will always move us to take care of one another." But just as I looked over to the 2 men my father was referring to, the one on top quickly got up and ripped the jacket from the person below him and took off, leaving that person completely exposed to the cold while he ran off with the other's jacket. Upon seeing this, I turned to my father and said, "Strength of human spirit, nothing. The man's just stole the other's coat and left him there to die from the cold." Now, realizing that what had happened was contrary to what he believed, my father's eyes welled up with tears. And looking out into space as though no one was there to see him, he said, "My God, that could be me. That could be me. There have been so many times I thought about just giving up. My God, that could be me." Now, this was shocking for me to see, for I had never witnessed my father crying, and I realized that for the first time in my life, how much pressure my father felt for putting food on our table and a roof over our heads. So much so that sometimes he felt like giving up and running away. I had no idea until that very moment how precarious the balance was that was keeping us afloat as immigrants in the U.S. And although it did take decades of striving, thanks to my parents, we were able to survive and even succeed in the USA. But for many years, I interpreted the lesson that my father was teaching me as a fact that every person under pressure has self-doubt and thinks about giving up. Knowing then that my father felt this way at times offered me some comfort when I was feeling that same way when I was under pressure. But the other part of the lesson that I didn't pick up until now was his ability to see himself in the suffering of others, and in doing so, not only offer help to those in need, he saw their suffering as motivation to help him succeed. And that's the lesson I want to share with you. When we see others suffering, it is a sign from the universe that that could be us, and that by administering charity and compassion towards that person or persons, we're doing so for ourselves as well. And this good deed that we do for others may well live on for the rest of time as the person you help is moved to pass love and compassion to others. Now, I had a chance to do this, for example, on the trip I took last week back to Colorado. My brother Roberto, who is a year and a half older than me, had been taken to the emergency room with a serious cardiac problem. So serious, in fact, that he had to have a stent put in the left ventricle of his heart to help it pump blood throughout his body. Now, understanding the message that the universe was sending me through my brother, I understood that this could easily be me. He's only 2 years older. And I also knew what it would mean to me to have the people I love show concern and love during my time of need. So Desi and I packed off And off we went to Durango, Colorado to be with my brother and tell him how much we loved him. I think it meant something to him. While in Colorado, we also made time to see my son, who lives in Denver. And although he's doing okay, he is grieving a relationship breakup and is reestablishing himself as a human being in a new environment. Once again, I could see myself in Josh. During a similar period of my life, I had felt very lonely and abandoned. The visit from us didn't solve his problem, but I knew that he could feel that he was loved and not alone. Now, also while in Denver, I was told that my old boss was visiting Denver for a day, and I was given a location where I could see him. I was also told that although he had just turned 95, he was healthy and sharp of mind. Once again, I was able to see myself in him. I could imagine being 95 years old and wondering if anyone even remembered me anymore. Now, he'd been a good boss, and I went to see him just to let him know how he had been like a father to me, and he had. And he had been so instrumental in all of my successes. When I told him that, I could see his lights light up, and I'm sure that when he dies, he will know that he made a difference in someone else's life, at least one person. I hope I can experience the same after living my 72 plus years. I often think of my father's lesson, and I try to apply it with every suffering person I see. I believe that it is in finding ourselves in others and then moving to help them that our lives will live on through these good deeds we did for them, even after our names are long forgotten. For chances are their lives were changed and they passed these good deeds on to others. And even though they were small, they could have great meaning in someone's life. It could be the difference between feeling loved and valued and feeling despair. See you soon.